This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Pedestrian safety is a two-way street. Both drivers and walkers need to do their part to keep roads safe. When you're walking, remember, the drivers may not always see you, so remember to use these tips to continue to walk safely. Wear bright clothes. Always use crosswalks and obey signs. Lights and reflectors should be used. And finally, keep alert and do not walk distracted. This message brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol.
CJ Used Appliances, located at 3530 Jackson Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances have the best prices in town, sales and service, heating and air. Also the best appliances you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Refrigerators, microwave stoves, washers and dryers, deep freezers, dishwashers, whatever you need in used appliances. And folks, I'll tell you, they're the best used appliances anywhere you'll find. That's CJ Used Appliances, 3530 Jackson Avenue. All appliances come with warranty. You can call them at 901-487-7882. Again, 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances. T-Graphics Printing, located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis. A complete print shop for all your printing needs. They do it all. Color copies, resumes, funeral programs, rubber stamps, full-color business cards, wedding and graduation invitations, and more. 30-plus years of quality work and service. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, Tennessee, 901-345-9294. T-Graphics Printing. C&S Motors Auto Sales, located at 2508 Summer Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-323-8778. C&S Motors Auto Sales has been around since 1984. Go by and see Chris today for some of the best pre-owned and used vehicles in the city. They have SUVs, minivans, cars, trucks, whatever you're looking for in pre-owned used vehicles. Hey, you can find it right there at C&S Motors Auto Sales. See Chris since 1984. They will treat you right. Call them at 901-323-8778. That's 901-323-8778. 2508 Summer Avenue, C&S Motors Auto Sales. Sports. We're live. We're in full effect, man. Definitely appreciate y'all for checking me out once again on today.
And it is another day, another dollar, man, another day. Talkback Live Sports is here in the building. Man, I appreciate y'all once again. I'm your host, Joshua Midget. Joining you today. I was off today, but I'm back in the building on today, man. Hope y'all had an outstanding Thanksgiving holiday weekend leading into Monday and today and everything else. Everybody getting back to the normal routine. Hopefully, everybody is doing well on that front, and I know I am as well. So, man, so much stuff to get into on today. I'm going to get right into it really, really quickly. You can follow us on Twitter at TalkBackLive. That's one word, at TalkBackLive. Also, Facebook, facebook.com, TalkBackLive with Bob and Josh, which you can see me live there. Also on our other two pages, WTBL, Talkback Live, and Talkback Live Network. All on Facebook. We are live and in full effect. Number to call in, we got about 15 minutes or so you can call before my guest comes in, Dominic Lawson, and to talk the business of sports, which is a lot, especially going on right now. You can join the conversation by calling 901-213-6020, and I will be happy to let you jump on in today. So, y'all let me know how y'all feeling out there today, man. It is another Tuesday, and you can see kind of what I'm about to talk about, especially here off top, who is right behind me or beside me to my left over there. That's Mike Norvell. And I think that's a man that deserves a lot of props. I think it's a man that has done a really good job, to say the least, with the Memphis Tigers football program. But he's also a guy that is in very high demand as we speak. In case you have not heard, the rumors have started to circulate as the Tigers have continued to win. And I shout to those of you that may just be joining me. Once again, this is Talkback Live Sports. I am your host, Joshua Midget, talking all things Mike Norvell as of right now. And I'm going to just dive right on into it. Let me say this. This has been, I think without a doubt now, the best season in the history of Memphis Tigers football, both statistically and literally as well, because you think about it, this is a team that's won 11 games. The Tigers are 11-1. Who would have ever thought, man? The Tigers football team is 11-1. They just came off beating a ranked Cincinnati program. What's going on, Steven? How you doing? What's up, Greg? I see Greg coming in the building as well. But that's it, man. You're talking about a big win coming up from last week. And heading into the AAC championship game this weekend against that very same Cincinnati Bearcats team. Coming into the Bowl. First time the AAC championship has been played in the Liberty Bowl. You talk about Memphis having game day come to Memphis this year. You talk about having a sellout stadium against the SMU Mustangs on ABC primetime national television. You talk about the Tigers winning that game convincingly to the point where this Tigers team has really been the talk of the nation for several weeks because of the constant national television attention, which means the recruiting and everything else will be on an all-time high. So, with that great success comes the rumors that are expected, especially when you're not a Power 5 program. And Mike Norvell is in the middle of that firestorm right now. Now, I'll play a clip here of Mike Norvell the other day at his media availability. And he had some things to say about what's been going on and circulating around him with these rumors, especially heading into an AAC championship game. And he gave his thoughts about being the head coach of the Memphis Tigers and all of that. So I'm going to play this clip here really quickly, and then we're going to fire it back up, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this as well. But I'm going to tell you what I think about what he had to say. Clip's about 30 seconds long, so here we go. Y'all take a listen.
Part of the questions, the speculation, all those things. I can tell you that I've got one of the best jobs in the country, and it's something that, over the years there's been speculation on what else is out there, what could be, what would be, but this is a wonderful place, and I'm honored to represent it. I'm honored to go to work with these guys each and every day, and that's where we are.
So there it is. So the video's going to continue to loop there. You heard it. If you didn't hear it, he basically said how great the job is at Memphis and how the rumors are circulating, but that this is one of the best jobs in the country, and he's honored to be our head coach. Do you know what that means? I'm going to break that down in plain English for you guys. What you just heard is Mike Norvell preparing his goodbye. That's what that was that you heard. For better or for worse, what y'all just heard, and what's up, Mr. Johnson? Good to see you, man. What you heard was Mike Norvell, I believe, preparing his goodbye as the Memphis Tigers head coach. I don't think he was lying. I think he really does lead the best jobs in the country. I think he really does have an extreme emotional attachment to the city of Memphis. You could tell while he was up there talking. I saw his interview with Chris Vernon. Vernon always does a good job with one-on-one interviews and getting guys to, kind of be themselves in a lot of situations. And he opened up about how great a job Memphis is, and not understanding why people want to leave, this, that, and the other. And it's a good thing to say. And I don't think, it's different from other coaches where I feel like, they're kind of being disingenuous. I don't think Norvell's being disingenuous here. I think he's felt the love at an all-time high here at Memphis. I think he knows what a special year this is, and I think he wants to finish it the right way. I think he doesn't want to let what's going on right now ruin the moments, because, as I said, I believe at some point last week, you don't work this hard. I don't care if you do want a Power 5 job. You don't work this hard at a program and not finish. And one thing, is I love Joseph Fuente. He helped us get to the point that we're at currently. But Fuente did not leave the best way. The Tigers were actually ranked higher than they are now in Norvell's final season. We all remember what ended up happening. Miss in the Liberty Bowl, the Tigers were approaching close to the top 10, and some people were talking about contender for the playoffs at that time in Fuente's final season. But when the rumors about Virginia Tech began to pop up, it ruined that team. It ruined that team led by Paxton Lynch and all those guys. That ruined that season. They lost 2 of the last 3 or 3 of the last 4, something like that, including a blowout against Auburn after Fuente was gone, and Daryl Dickey was forced to be the head coach at that time. So all of that, I feel like Norvell's handling this a lot better. I think he's kind of pushed off the rumors as much as he could, because when you are meeting with these programs, which I believe he is, it's tough to keep the rumors down because they're going to get out at some point. So it's just one of those things. And you know what? If the Tigers do make it to the Cotton Bowl, it would be hard for me to believe that he wouldn't coach in the Cotton Bowl. I could see him pulling a Scott Frost. He's official, the head coach at wherever he's heading, and I'm going to get into that in just a second here. I can see him pulling a Scott Frost where he's like, hey, I'm gonna take this job, but I want to finish what we started. And Scott Frost was able to finish what UCF started with that undefeated season and take out Auburn, ironically, in that bowl game, and finish the work that he had been putting in at UCF. Now, he's flopped at Nebraska, and that's kind of where, y'all know where I stand on that. When you have a job like this, like you have at Memphis, you either stay and keep that sustained greatness, or you gamble a bigger job with bigger expectations. Bigger money, but bigger expectations and bigger pressure. And that's why the rumors are swirling now, according to my sources that I've talked to and heard from been communicating with throughout the day, that it seems as though Florida State could be, and this is not 100%, but it could be as soon as this weekend. So that announcement could be made. You would hope they'd at least wait until after the AAC championship game, but you never know. I remember with UCF, I think when they were playing Memphis, the news came out before the game was over that he was the new head coach at Nebraska toward the end of the game, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully, if that does happen, it happens in that sort of manner, and hopefully Norvell will be able to coach his team wherever they go in the bowl game. So that's kind of where I am on that. But it seems as though Memphis Norvell is in the final stages of the situation at Florida State right now. So y'all let me know what you think. I'm reading a comment now from Greg, who says, I'm not leaving if I stay, but maybe it depends on whether I go or not. Kind of sort of depends on if I say no to FSU. It doesn't say yes, I'm not taking another job unless I say yes. It's been real, but I love it here until I'm gone. Yep, clear as mud that he's staying. LOL, that's what Greg says. Nah, he's definitely not staying here in that press conference. Greg also says here, and I'm going to read some more, you guys. I've always said that if he wins the conference championship, he is gone, as that was his ultimate goal, and that, unfortunately, is the best that he can do in this conference, as the CFB, college football, is currently structured. So, hey, that is the thought. Good to see you, Leon. Let me go back on some of these comments here. Y'all coming in hot and heavy on today. Phineas says, go Tigers, go. I agree with you, brother. Mark Ronza says, who are we going to get to replace him? Steven says he looks like he was nervous. He did look nervous. I think it's all sorts of emotions going on with Norvell. Rod Tigrit, who's going on, he says, yep, not wearing a Memphis shirt, and his demeanor is not the same. Absolutely. You can read the body language. Mark says good luck to him. I agree. Phoenix says, I wouldn't even be mad if he left to Florida State, USC, at $5 million a year. Exactly. That's the main thing, is money right now. And hey, Scott says he actually said he has one of the best jobs in the country. That could be anywhere. That's a great point, too. Anywhere he goes, it's going to be one of the best jobs in the country. Let's see. E-Rock Daniel says, I've been saying that he's staying for a few more years, but with Florida State saying quiet on their decision, I think he's gone. I really hope not, but it's making more sense as the week goes on. Him leaving is inevitable, and I hope we get another season with him. We can just hope that we have a great coach come in and moving forward if he ends up leaving. Love him and what he's done either way. I agree. Phineas says, that's Frost's alma mater. That's right, Scott Frost in Nebraska. They'll give him 3 more years. Paul says Norvell better win big in the first 3 years at Florida State or they'll want him fired. Yep. Look at Willie Taggart. Willie Taggart was actually recruiting pretty well in 1.5 years there, but they dumped him. Phineas says the gamble is to move is a risk. It's a very big risk. Rod Tiger says Silverfield will be interim. FSU will not want him coaching against Florida if Florida is going to be. Ah, man, that's all. We get beat by Florida and FSU fans will go nuts. Rod says it will get leaked during the game. Yeah, just like what happened with Scott Frost. Next head coach, Ryan Silverfield. As well, Leon, I see your brother, Leon Mapstone. And Phoenix also says, I would be mad if he left for Ole Miss, Missouri, or Arkansas. E-Rock. So, yeah, I definitely don't think he took 3 jobs because those are not good jobs, to be perfectly honest with you. Now, as far as the next head coach, we kind of talked about this. I don't know if y'all have checked out my podcast, the Deliberation Sports Podcast. I posted in these groups before. With that and my guys, Justice Bolt and Evan DeVoe, we all kind of talked about that. And I know Evan talked about it, and I've talked about it here on the show. I believe Chip Long, who's the offensive coordinator at Notre Dame, Norvell assistant before he went to Notre Dame to be the offensive coordinator. He's a guy that I believe is on the verge of becoming a head coach. And why not take that leap from a big program like Notre Dame, become a head coach at Memphis, where he already has some recruiting roots, having worked with Norvell in the past. But also, a name that's times in the chat, I would love this hire as well. Ryan Silverfield. Silverfield's a guy with the NFL connections. He's a guy that the Tigers have been able to hold on to for dear life for quite a while because you talk about a guy that's in demand. You talk about a guy that can recruit. You talk about a guy that is rising in the ranks as an assistant. So I would love that hire as well. Looking here, Leon says, don't forget Clay Helton. He got fired from USC. Hey, you never know. Clay Helton goes back even further with with the University of Memphis. So who knows as far as that's concerned. But I don't know if you want a guy that did not do a good job at USC. So that's just my opinion. But y'all let me know what you think. Continue to leave some comments on who you think should be the next Memphis Tigers head football coach. But all I know is, on top of everything, it is still incredible to see that Memphis football is the headline when you have all this going on with Memphis Tigers basketball. The Tigers basketball team plays tonight. But everybody's talking about Tiger football. Personally, I love it. I think that's a great thing. Mark Ronza says Hugh Freeze. No. A couple of years ago, I wanted Hugh Freeze, but I have soured on him quite a bit. It's just something about him. He comes across as fake. To me, I don't like fake people. You know what I'm saying? I know everybody has their problems, but he just comes across as a fake loser. To me, Hugh Freeze. So, and I think he's a good coach. I actually think Hugh Freeze is a good coach. I think he's a you don't do what he's done over the years and not be a good coach. But at the same time, it was just leave a weird taste in my mouth. I don't know. Maybe I would get adjusted to it. Because Hugh Freeze has actually done a good job at Liberty, of all people. I saw them. They're scoring like crazy at 6 or 7 wins down there. But I just don't, despite thinking that Hugh Freeze is actually a good coach, I just don't like him. That's just from my perspective. Phineas says Ryan Silverfield is the first choice. Maybe Barry Odom. I don't know about Barry Odom. Now, we wanted him originally before Norvell. That was the guy everybody wanted. After Barry Odom took the Missouri job. But it's funny how things flip, right? Norvell's done a great job here. Barry Odom just got fired on a go-down. Now, he's a great defensive coordinator. He's a great defensive coordinator. He will make the Tigers better, and it has been since he last here. Remember, when he was here under Fuente, Barry Odom, he had the Tiger defense as one of the tops in the country. Top half, at least. They can even at the top 20. So I think he's good at that. Maybe if you want to bring him as a D coordinator or something, I don't mind that. Or maybe you keep Adam Fuller around. Who knows? See, Victor Key says, I like Silverfield. He is too to lose. I agree 1,000,000%. Too valuable. Paul says, you wouldn't have to pay Hugh Freeze much if you gave him a member. So that's what I'm saying, man. Hugh Freeze is fake. I can't deal with that. Ethan says if he would gladly and I want to see him. He's not going to do that. I don't want that. I know that want that's some smoke I don't want. I feel like that's some smoke you would choke on. That hog smoke. Nah, that's just too much, man. But we shall see. But yeah, so I'm going to take a quick commercial break here, guys. Man, y'all are coming in hot and heavy, and I appreciate this, but I want to give some time for my guest to come in, Dominic Lawson, and we're going to talk the business of sports. I may get his thoughts on the Norvell situation as well as some other things. So y'all stick around. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I will be right back. So stay tuned, keep it locked, and I will return shortly.
This is Sergeant Chris Richardson with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. Pedestrian safety is a two-way street. Both drivers and walkers need to do their part to keep roads safe. When you're walking, remember, the drivers may not always see you, so remember to use these tips to continue to walk safely. Wear bright clothes. Always use crosswalks and obey signs. Lights and reflectors should be used. And finally, keep alert and do not walk distracted. This message brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Patrol.
CJ Used Appliances, located at 3530 Jackson Avenue here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances have the best prices in town. Sales and service, heating and air. Also the best appliances you'll find anywhere in the Mid-South. Refrigerators, microwave stoves, washers and dryers, deep freezers, dishwashers, whatever you need in used appliances. And folks, I'll tell you, they're the best used appliances anywhere you'll find. That's CJ Used Appliances, 3530 Jackson Avenue. All appliances come with warranty. You can call them at 901-487-7882. Again, 901-487-7882. CJ Used Appliances. Graphics Printing, located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, a complete print shop for all your printing needs. They do it all. Color copies, resumes, funeral programs, rubber stamps, full-color business cards, wedding and graduation invitations, and more. 30-plus years of quality work and service. They're open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., located at 890 East Range Road in Memphis, Tennessee, 901-345-9294. C Graphics Printing. C&S Motors Auto Sales, located at 2508 Summer Avenue, here in Memphis, Tennessee. Call them at 901-323-8778. C&S Motors Auto Sales has been around since 1984. Go by and see Chris today for some of the best pre-owned and used vehicles in the city. They have SUVs, minivans, cars, trucks, whatever you're looking for in pre-owned used vehicles. Hey, you can find it right there at C&S Motors Auto Sales. See Chris since 1984. They will treat you right. Call them at 901-323-8778. That's 901-323-8778. 2508 Summer Avenue, C&S Motors Auto Sales.
And welcome back to the show, Talk Back Live Sports. We are live. We are in full effect, man. Without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my next guest. He is joining me from Memphis, Tennessee. He is the of the Startup Life podcast, man, which is now coming to you on KWM 990 very, very soon. He is the man that joins me each and every week on Tuesdays for the Business of Sports segment. My man Dominic Lawson. Sir, how are you doing on this Tuesday?
Living a dream, brother. I just polished off the last of the Thanksgiving leftovers. I'm ready to rock and roll, my man.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. That cranberry sauce has been smashed. And so now we're ready to get it for the rest. Once that leftovers is done, now we can move on with our lives. So that's always a good thing at this point. Especially the next Tuesday, you're probably ready to shoot another.
For sure.
Moving forward, man. What I was talking about right before you came on, I had feedback on it, and I just want to get your thoughts before we dive into some of this other stuff. Is Mike Norvell, and it's quite business related because he's kind of about his business right now with the rumors getting stronger and stronger when it comes to Florida State. Some say maybe this weekend the announcement's made. Not really sure as of when, but it just almost seems inevitable at this point. What do you think about where we're at with him right now?
I was listening earlier and stuff like that, and I would have to agree with you, Josh. That sounded a lot like it had the tone of a presidential concession speech.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that's why, my wife tells me all the time, linguistics matters. And so he sounded like, when you talk about for better or for worse, that's what it sounds like, And the thing is like, look, I thought, Mike Norvell was probably on his way out the door when they beat UCLA at home a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one of the things that he's always done well. Is like, national TV or a big time game at home, he knocks it out of the park and he gets those W's.
That's right.
So, I don't see him going to an Arkansas. That doesn't seem like a good situation. Neither does all the other ones that keep coming out. But when you talk about Florida State, man, the tradition of the Seminoles, man, that might be too hard to pass up. We talk about a lot of times in basketball, like the Blue Bloods, like you don't say no to Kentucky, you don't say no to Duke or stuff like that. Florida State is kind of one of those schools where it's, I'm not going to say you don't say no, but it's quite hard to say no. So, I hope it doesn't happen. No, obviously for selfish reasons, but I mean, if you're Mike Norvell and you're talking about wanting to be the best of the best, you probably need to flip over to the ACC and go after that job. If I'm just being honest. So
yeah, I actually I do agree. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see him stay, if at all possible, but it's going to be tough because Memphis, was trying to scrounge up some money. I'm sure he's going to get quite a raise, regardless. But
for sure. I mean, and you can definitely leverage all this noise and hoopla. You can leverage that into a contract for sure.
Absolutely. And you better believe, I think it's been smart on his end. There's no coincidence these rumors, coming out. When they are we heard back then Arkansas had allegedly met with him. Arkansas says no, but yet, these reports from reputable people say, yeah, he did meet with them. I think all of that's intentional. It's how you play the game, So it's no knock on him. And despite all that, this has been an outstanding season. And I think, you do want to finish it off on a good note. Now, if you're him, do you want to coach in the bowl game? If you beat Cincinnati this weekend, you make it to the Cotton Bowl, do you want to at least try to coach the bowl game or what? Or do you think that's going to be kind of tough?
I think if I'm him, I coach in that bowl game only because I think you kind of owe it to some of those players that you did recruit to the University of Memphis to kind of finish the job, if you will. I think, the thing is a lot of times we forget that they're college coaches, but they're also educators. They're teachers. They're not in the traditional sense, but they're educating and teaching these young men about life and responsibilities and being a man of your word and stuff like that. And so when you go into these living rooms to these young men and you talk about family and finishing the job and teaching skills that go beyond the football field, I think that's a part of it. And so I think, personally, maybe it's a little bit of selfishness of me, that's whatever the case may be. But when you start talking about those type of concepts, it's a bit, contradictory if you yourself don't go and finish the job. So I think he should, only from a standpoint of not necessarily out of obligation to the university, but more so out of obligation to those young men that he was able to convince to come to the University of Memphis.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Plus, it doesn't do too bad for Florida State as far as a commercial for what you're getting as well. So I couldn't see them saying no to that. Also, almost like what Scott Frost did with UCF in the Auburn game,
right,
a few years ago. So we shall see, man. But kind of switching gears here, I want to kind of somewhat stay in line with what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Nice segue.
Yes, with the Willie Taggart. So what's happening, or what happened, Florida State in the extremely quick Florida State reign that Willie Taggart had, it's kind of a messy situation you got right now with him and his contract. What's the latest that you're hearing with that? Because it seemed like there's a battle ensuing, or that's currently underway. What's happening?
Before I start there, man, I'm just going to say, man, Talk Back Live, y'all got me working out here, man. I was going through legal documents with James Wiseman. I was going through legal documents with Colin Kaepernick. Now I'm going through legal documents when it comes to Willie Taggart, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that, look, first of all, we all know Willie Taggart, he has been asked to kind of leave the role of head coach of Florida State and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that he never signed. Well, coming to find out, he signed the contract. Florida State never signed their part of the contract. Mm-hmm. And so once again, this is actually, believe it or not, Josh, one of those things where it's actually quite common for somebody to start a head coach role in Division I sports and not have a contract signed. One of the famous ones was Billy Gillispie up in Kentucky, and even for a while, Tubby Smith. Yeah. Even Tubby Smith for a while, his contract wasn't signed, I think, until not only after the first season was squared away. Mm-hmm. But what has made this one interesting, and this kind of falling in line with what happened with Billy Gillispie when he was let go at the University of Kentucky as the head basketball coach, is that he ended up having to go to court, and this one may be heading in that similar direction. The thing is, Willie Taggart, he signed a 6-year, $30 million contract, and his buyout was going to be around $17 to $18 million, which is not a bad fallback position, if you ask me.
Not at all.
But the thing is, seems that he signed the contract and Florida State didn't sign the contract, and this is all due to the fact that there was probably some small points of contention that was not really ironed out. Mm-hmm. But the fact that only one side signed the contract is an issue, because now Florida State may be able to consider Willie Taggart what they call an at-will employer, meaning that he just started working on his own, whatever. Which means that if that is true, and they go to court and the courts rule in their favor, that means that $18 million is gone. Mm. He don't get that money, he don't get that payout, which I find rather interesting. But the thing is that I think, he may have a chance to kind of recoup some of that money, if not all of it, because I know that's kind of what happened in the Billy Gillispie case with Kentucky. So there's precedent for him to get his money, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Billy Gillispie, I hadn't heard that name in a minute. I think he coached Patrick Patterson, who had his own stuff go on.
Like I said, man, I had to do some digging for this story. So,
hey, look, we appreciate your legal acumen. Absolutely. But
for sure.
I'm gonna tell you, not to get off track too much, but the only thing I remember about Billy Gillispie is when seemed like when he got fired, I think the cameras were chasing him out of the Kentucky facility. I just remember ESPN's like, "Hey, what happened?" And he's just running away. But
right.
It's interesting. It's unfortunate because I hope he's able to get his money, because if you do get fired as quickly as he did and then you don't get your money, I don't really understand. And to me, I can never understand why you just wouldn't sign anyway. In case something like this happens, why put it off? I mean, this is money. This is your money you're playing with here. And
that's true.
Yeah,
that is true. The only thing is that, like, usually, like, in business, this happens quite often where you're trying not to hold up the principle of the deal for minor stuff, and that's all this was.
Yeah. And
rarely does it get to a point where something like this happens. It's just that this is just one of those cases where it fell in the cracks. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's interesting because, I mean, true enough, he did not sign the contract, but there was like a service agreement. There was something signed on both parties, which means that's probably why he may be able to get some of his money, if not all of it. But, when it comes to the legal work and stuff like that, man, that's who's more qualified than I am to see where this might go. But I can only go by what's happened in history, and history says, like, he's going to get at least some money. So we'll just have to see, man. We'll have to kind of keep our eye on this. And it's a interesting situation, a messy situation, but it's one that, could definitely has an impact when we talk about the landscape of college football. So no question. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that, man. And seems like it won't interfere with anything as far as Novell's concerned. But no, I don't think so. Yeah, that alumni base, when it comes to college football and the Florida State Seminoles, trust me, that they money long. So I don't, they got, I don't think it's going to be an issue to hire a Mike Norvell or something like that if that's something they want to do. So absolutely, we're talking with Dominic Lawson here on the Business of Sports segment right here on Talkback Live Sports. I'm your host, Joshua Midget. In the minutes we got remaining, man, one of the most interesting things I've seen lately, really over the past few weeks, but even reading some more about it the other day, was the situation in the NBA as we kind of switch gears again with this, some of the changes that they are thinking about implementing. It seems like they're on the later stages, maybe not the end stages, of really trying to implement some of these changes next year, next season, that is. The most talk that has been got of the changes is the NBA in-season tournament, where they're actually talking about having some stages. This is kind of something you hear, like in college basketball. You hear the in-season NIT tournaments or the Maui tournaments, things like that in the middle of the year. But the NBA, that would be kind of an unprecedented, and quite frankly, it would be kind of weird to see that in the middle of the season. But how do you feel about that? Could that be pretty cool for the fans or not so cool for the players? What do you think? You talk about, precedents or whatever, right? Now, granted, when it comes to professional sports here in America, professional sports, when it comes to as far as like basketball goes, you're absolutely right. It's unprecedented, but it's not unprecedented in sports in general and in American sports, because if anybody who's familiar with the sport of soccer, then there are in-season tournaments and stuff all the time. That's true. Matter of fact, like even those in-season tournaments have like little small regular seasons of their own, right? And so I think this is one of those instances where the NBA is really trying to curb tanking, right? And I think that's where the incentive of the draft pick is coming from. Look, also let's just be honest. This is also another way for the NBA to generate revenue, because when we're talking about another in-season tournament, that means there's a whole nother slew of sponsors you can go after. And as one of the most popular sports on planet Earth, sponsors are always looking to get their hands on sponsoring and advertising and basketball and stuff like that. So, I think it's an interesting concept from the standpoint of it's new. I know a lot of us are, it's a new concept, especially for those of us who don't watch like professional soccer or football, as they like to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting concept. I'm waiting to see some more details and stuff like that. I know some of the players are not necessarily interested in it, but if you ask me, if you're asking me from a business standpoint, this is actually long-term beneficial to the entire league because, an extra spin on the game, which means has more sponsors, which means more revenue, which means more money for salaries in the coming years. Especially when we talk about that new collective bargaining agreement and stuff like that. So while I know the players aren't really too thrilled about it, but I just really think this is one to kind of curb tanking and B, generate even more money for the NBA.
That's a great point, man. And I could see, especially like you said with the tanking thing, because I think they're trying to find a way for some of these regular season games to matter more.
Absolutely.
To like some of these teams, especially teams that are good and they know they're going to be in the playoffs at least. Like the Lakers or in the championship contention, you kind of cruise through some of these games around this part of the year. But if you can add like a tournament in, like they're saying around Christmas time or December or something like that, that can have some stakes like a draft pick, which
right.
I don't care who you are, whether you're a playoff contender or a bottom dweller, you're going to want that draft pick.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're the bottom dwellers like the perennial Phoenix Suns for the past couple of years.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right, Josh.
And I'm curious how they would set up that tournament. Would it involve everybody? Do you just pick people depending on where they are in the standings and mix and match? That's going to be curious, all those extra details. But I don't hate it as much as some people seem to just hate the idea. I even saw a comment on my post yesterday says the AAUification of the NBA. So even I kind of get what they're trying to say. But
I mean, look,
yeah.
I think it comes. I remember in 2007, 2008 when the BCS first came around, people were like, oh, it'll destroy college football.
Mm-hmm.
It has only generated even more interest and more intrigue in college football. Even the playoff, right? Look,
Mm-hmm.
anything that's something new. People who are like old school or purists, as they like to call it, they're going to object to anything new. But I mean, ultimately, they'll I ain't gonna say they'll fall in line, but they'll learn to be okay with it, and it'll we'll try it. Just like remember the All-Star break when they got rid of the dunk contest, they brought NBA the 2-ball competition.
Yeah.
Look, it didn't work. Okay, so if it doesn't work here, they'll just get rid of it. It's not that big a deal. There's nothing wrong with trying new things, especially when we're talking about, which I really think is A, trying to generate revenue, but I think more importantly, B, trying to curb tanking. I really think that's a big piece of all this and trying to generate something new to try to get away from teams tanking for sure, Josh.
Yeah, no doubt, man. That's my guy, Dominic Lawson. Hey, man, I definitely wanted to ask this question. Just I saw on one of the comments here that wanted me to ask you before we get up out of here. I know don't have too much time left, but
sure.
Rod Tigert says he wanted your thoughts on the Florida State fans' reaction to Norvell. Evidently, he's seen on Twitter that some of them are thinking he's Willie Taggart 2.0, which is interesting. But what do you think about that? Does that surprise you?
It doesn't surprise me because I think it's one of those guilty by association things. Willie Taggart came from the AAC. Mike Norvell's in the AAC. I mean, I get it. But the fact of the matter is that, like, look, Mike Norvell has been a hot coaching commodity for years. He's been beating not only AAC teams, which I would argue is a Power 6 conference, by the way, but also he's been beating just about all the big names that come to his way when he plays on national TV. So look, I mean, I get Florida State fans, kind of hesitation when it comes to Mike Norvell, but I think it's nothing more than just, guilty by association and being from the AAC. So trust me, If Mike Norvell goes down there to Florida State and start winning games, that's the beauty about sports. Winning games solves everything.
Everything, bro.
Right? So if he goes down there and start beating the brakes off of Florida and Miami and Clemson, trust me, those people will get quiet real quick.
Absolutely, brother. That's my guy, Dominic Lawson, man. Another successful edition of the Business of Sports segment, brother. Definitely appreciate you coming on as always. Let the people know how they can follow you and check out what you got going on.
Absolutely. And as you alluded to earlier, we are now moving over the Startup Life podcast over to KWAM Radio here in Memphis, Tennessee. We're really excited about that. We just got out the email inbox of another potential big name guest. We're going to have not one billionaire coming on the Startup Life podcast, but now another billionaire to come on the podcast to kind of talk about his books and stuff like that he got coming up. Also, check out all the stuff on the Binge Podcast Network, the Startup Life podcast, Minding Your Business podcast, Just Blurting, Let's Be Real, Nothing But Buckets, all that great content on the Startup Life podcast. And I just want to plug two things if I could, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
This Saturday, for those who are interested in doing a podcast of themselves, my good friend Ina Esco is going to be doing Podbox episode 3 this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. Is going to be a really good thing. She's going to have all the podcasters from the city, a lot of good podcasters from the city there, and just talk about what it takes to build a podcast, start a podcast, and stuff like that. And also, if you're a fan of youth in the city of Memphis, we have Let's Innovate Through Education, their pitch night, where they'll be pitching their businesses. I've been working with this group for over 3 years now, so they'll be pitching their businesses to some of Memphis's, deep pockets to try to get them some funding for their little businesses there that they started. So
kind of like a Shark
I'm really
Tank.
excited about. That's exactly what it is. Put them through a 16-week program, and then on pitch night, they pitch their idea to the who's who of Memphis, man.
Awesome.
I appreciate you letting me share that for sure.
Oh man, no problem at all, man. That is some dope stuff. Y'all be sure y'all support that if you get the opportunity, man. And Dominic, man, I appreciate it as always, and we'll do it again next week, my guy.
As always, I appreciate you and Bob, my man.
Yes, sir, brother. Appreciate it. All right, that's Dominic Lawson. Once again, another great edition of the Business of Sports segment today. So, without any further ado, man, that's going to do it for me on today. I appreciate y'all for watching, for listening, for tuning in, however you may be doing so. And that's going to do it. So, real quick, if you have a business and you would like to advertise on what we got going on here on Talkback Live Network, there is the information where you will be heard, and all of that, man. We got quite the audience, as you can see, each and every day with our multiple programming, more programming on the way. If you have a business, we have deals for the small businessman to the big businessman. We work with anybody on any deal, so feel free if you would like our content and want to support it in any way, be sure you hit us up on there. You can call the number 901-213-6020 after the show if you have a business or an event or anything that you would like to promote. We got some deals for y'all. Also, email us talkbacklive8@gmail.com. So that's going to do it for me, man. I'm your host, Joshua Midget, and I will talk to you guys next time.